couple minutes in, already dealing with tech issues. You love to see it. You love to see it. I was wondering why the Fugi wasn't dancing around, and that's why. I had to unplug and replug my microphone because no sound was coming through. I really hope it's coming through now. We'll see here. If a few minutes from now someone says to me, hey, are you supposed to be saying something? We don't hear you. I'll know. Anyways, with that being said, we're going to get back into some visual novel gameplay. We're going to get into Everlasting Summer. I need to remember what voices I did for the characters. And I'm going to make sure my thing here is letting me display the chat on my phone. Okay. All right. Let's see. For the sake of anyone that might be watching this later, my name is Cord the Sword. I'm a sword on the internet, and I play games, mostly Elden Ring and Warframe, but sometimes I like to branch out, and that's why we're playing this visual novel that I know nothing about. Okay. Without further ado, I think I'm going to try to do a brief recap of what we did last time, and then we're going to get right into it. We started the game. I'm a character named Semyon, a very introspective and, dare I even say, depressive young man in the Soviet Union. Kind of doom spiraling through life, I'd call it. And then he gets on a bus. He gets on that bus, and what does he do? He ends up at a summer camp, a pioneer camp, which is presumably their equivalent of like a Boy Scout or like a Venture Scout camp. And it's an idyllic little summer camp where no one's over the age of 25, and isn't that wonderful? And if you're looking at the warning sign, that's a real thing. If I start to crackle, you gotta let me know. There's an evil spiritual entity that's trying to breach its way into this world, and I need to stop it. So do let me know. With that being said, I think we're going to get right into the visual novel here. Let's do it. Okay. Wonderful. Day 3. I just need to remember all the voices I did. And load game. Oh, what did I do? It's kind of like the gravelly, cynical bastard voice, isn't it? It happens to me all the time. You see incredibly lucid images in your dream, as if you fell into a Hollywood blockbuster with a plot full of twists, well-paid actors, and multi-million-dollar visual effects. And then you wake up in the morning without remembering a thing. That's what I was trying to do, to restore the images shown by my relaxed brain. But that part of my memory was empty, either archived or formatted completely. It's 7 a.m. according to the clock. I seem to be an early bird today. Olga Dimitrievna was still sleeping, wrapping tightly in her blanket. Wrapping so tightly in a hot summer? Huh. I got up, stretched, and went to the mirror to have a look at myself. I'd better shave. Strange idea. Before, twice a month was enough. But now, nothing depends on the way I look. I haven't found a razor anyway. Why do I even need it if I look like I'm 17 at most? So, breakfast can't start earlier than 9 a.m., and this means I have plenty of time. which I can spend on walking and washing, for example. The water didn't seem as ice-cold as the previous day. On the contrary, its refreshing coolness helped me to brace up and come back to reality, whether all these events could be called real. The tooth powder didn't seem to be such an outdated thing. A quick thought struck me that it's not that different from toothpaste. When I returned to the cabin, Olga Dimitrievna was already up. She was standing in front of the mirror and fixing her hair. "Good morning, Semyon." "Morning." Because of a lack of sleep, my head was still singing, and my thoughts were all jumbled together. However, I didn't regret waking up. Instead of my usual habit of sleeping in for 2 or 3 hours more. "How come you got up so early?" "It just happened." "And no neckerchief once again. I'll do it myself. Not a big deal. On my way to the canteen." "I don't think so. Do it now." "Did you forget about the lineup before breakfast?" "How could I ever forget?" "And what's the lineup going to be about today?" "We'll discuss the agenda for the day." "So what's the agenda?" Frankly speaking, I didn't care for what might be on the agenda for our courageous pioneer troop. I was mostly interested in where our brave leader will send our little pioneer army for the following 12 to 15 hours. Maybe I could manage to avoid enemy locations. "You'll find that out at the lineup." She gave me a wily smile. "Olga Dimitrievna, you know, my stomach is getting upset. I'd rather, well, you know. I believe that's okay to miss the lineup once. It could get all nasty if I failed to control it right there." "Where did all this courage come from?" "You have 5 more minutes." "I'm afraid I need more time. Could you tell me right now, please?" "Sure, I'll try, but in case it all goes down." "Oh, fine. On our list today is cleaning the camp locations, organizing the books at the library, and some other minor tasks. And of course we have a ball in the evening." "Watch yourself. You must take part in the camp activities today." "You bet. Definitely. And now I'd rather... Come on, let's hit the road." I came out of the cabin and hid in the bushes behind it, waiting for Olga Dimitrievna to leave. What? He's hiding in the bushes? Okay, all right. Actually, I didn't have any particular reason to behave this way. But the voice within me kept telling me that I have nothing to do at the lineup. Ellipse. After the camp leader left, I went back to the cabin and decided to wait for breakfast there. Well, I'm not planning on taking part in community life today. Cleaning and organizing. That's not what someone in my situation should be doing. 2 days have passed, and I'm still right where I started. All the residents seem to be perfectly ordinary people. They weren't involved in any conspiracy, weren't communicating with aliens, and had no idea about time warps. Of course, each of them is a bit peculiar, but these peculiarities do not seem out of line at all. Moreover, if I had met any of these pioneers in my familiar world, I wouldn't suspect anything wrong. They seem to be even more normal and natural than, let's say, yours truly. This line of reasoning was quite logical. The illogical part was the absence of answers. Ordinary people in an extraordinary place. I've heard and seen that already. Somewhere. Dozens of pioneers, or even more, live their familiar lives and do their regular stuff day by day. They don't understand that the world around them is not what it looks like. Okay, but this is their point of view. As for me, I'm not acquainted with the world of the Sovnyuk camp and its residents, even if they seem to behave the way normal people would under the same circumstances. I have to decide here and now, are those people involved in what's happening to me? Can they give me any answers? Or do I have to seek the truth somewhere else? It seems I overdid it a bit with the thinking. There's no usual crowd of hungry pioneers near the canteen. Or even inside the canteen. Most of them probably had their breakfast before 9 a.m. That's even better. Two's company, three's a crowd. Lena was sitting in the farthest corner of the canteen, lazily picking with her fork at an amorphous lump that vaguely resembled porridge. Having a breakfast with her seems like a good idea. We can have a chat in peace. Or at least try to have one. I was on the way to her table when suddenly someone grabbed me by the sleeve. Zhenya, the librarian. Oh, what was her voice? I think I did the Debbie Downer for her. Get your meal and come. We need to talk. Ellipse. What are you waiting for? I was a bit confused. Pardon, isn't this a bit too sudden? What's wrong? Get your meal and sit down. I suppose that she considers her behavior completely normal. You know what? She's taking the initiative, and I like that. I'm not sure why, but I accepted the invitation. What if I can learn something new? She is such a bookworm. Minute later, I was sitting in front of Zhenya, with the tray and the simple meal on it. Porridge, 2 eggs, 4 pieces of white bread, a sausage, and a glass of compote. Bon appetit. Thanks. I decided to act as politely as I could, and also eat more neatly, without chomping and spilling crumbs of food or drops of compote. So, what do you want to talk about? Today at the library. I wasn't listening from this point onwards. I immediately recalled Olga Dimitrievna's words about the scheduled events for today. Don't forget. Oh, what? I said, don't forget to visit the library after lunch. What for? Were you even listening? Nope. So brazen, this guy. I admitted honestly. Zhenya's face turned red, then appeared green, then took on a soft purple color. Today, after lunch, you in the library. Got it, dunce? Kind of sounds more like Squidward when I do it like that. Dunce? What kind of curse is that? Though a pioneer must never use a curse word, how could I forget this rule? Oh, yeah, sure. I apologize. Of course I'll be there. Actually, I wasn't really planning to go anywhere. But if you want to make someone speak, you need to sacrifice a bit first. By the way, what year is it now? I totally lost count. I decided to play fair. She looked at me perplexedly and answered, Have you gone completely bananas? Honestly, that's how I felt for the last few days. Zhenya didn't reply. So, what year is it? I smiled kindly. Listen, why don't you visit the infirmary? Will they tell me what year it is there? Oh, certainly, and even more. Zhenya stood up and headed to the exit. Wait, you didn't finish your meal. But it looks like she won't turn back. I was finished chewing on the sausage, which tasted like a twisted pear cable. I wonder if they have internet access here. I guess not. A pioneer sitting at the next table noticed me talking to myself and stared at me. I smiled and waved to him in return. After such a friendly greeting, he, for some reason, left the canteen quickly without finishing his breakfast. Done with the food, it's time to search for some clues. Sometime later, I finally came to the infirmary. I have nothing to do in that place. Though the nurse seemed quite caring, it's better to keep a distance from her. Such benevolence is actually scary. She may know something, but I just hadn't the courage to enter the infirmary. Moreover, I had no reason to. Not a single one. Immersed in my own thoughts, I didn't notice the nurse, who was standing on the porch. Oh, what voice did I do for her? I think I just did the same Olga Dimitrievna voice, if I'm being honest. Hi there, pioneer. She came closer. You must be sick. Did you come for medicine? No, I was just wandering around. Oh, a truant, I see. My voice is much more suitable for the game Max Payne. You know, I'm trying a bunch of different new things, and I don't know anything about Max Payne, but who knows? Maybe someday. But if you're here, I have a serious task for you. I gave her a look of inquiry. The word task made me feel uneasy. It sounded like something inevitable. The nurse smiled spitefully. You both will help me to make an inventory of the supplied medicine, which arrived today. Both? Who are we? Perhaps I misheard. But what word could be confused with both? Oh, I did. It's Lena. What? I think I just did like the little wimpy voice for Lena. Hi. Lena emerged from behind the nurse's back. It seemed strange that I hadn't noticed her until now. Come here after dinner. I have explained everything to Lena. She will tell you what to do. Medicine, huh? Supplied today? But Olga Dimitrievna told me no bus would arrive in the next couple of days. So, there were visitors to our camp today? Yes, they arrived from the city this morning. Why are you asking? Just curious. All right then, pioneer. So tonight, after dinner, you'll be here. Maybe I... Lena was barely noticeable this whole time. Surely, she's able to remain invisible like a skilled ninja. I could do it on my own. No way. There are lots of boxes. And a pioneer is always ready. Isn't that so, pioneer? Wink. She gazed at me and smiled menacingly. I don't want to spend the whole evening doing something like this, but I've also got much more important things to do. But rejecting this request would be really improper. If it wasn't Lena who was standing here, I would definitely think my way out. Lie, tell the truth. I feel like we should be honest. Okay, I'll come. Ellipse, wink. Nice. That's how a true pioneer should answer. Even after these words, I barely came a step closer to the be prepared, always prepared motto. Then you can go. I looked at Lena, who was still staring at the ground. I guess all that time she spent staring at the ground was enough to learn everything there is to know about the life and habits of different insects. You should try Elden Ring. Pretty nice femboy focused V, and the food content. Foot content is a little heavy handed, but it'd be good if you look past it. You know what? I've heard of Elden Ring. I might have to try it one of these days, because all those things sound like things I like. Plus, Lena likes to read, so she probably read many biological, botanical, and so on books. Perhaps she wants to become an entomologist. Ellipse. Where will you head next? Lena's words drew me away from my obscure thoughts, the ones I had plotting out her entire scientific career, just based on her staring down at the ground, apparently. We'd been standing in the square for some time, and my speculations about bugs' lives were only an attempt to escape this awkward situation. Though, why did I see it as awkward? Just don't forget, all right? Don't forget what? Well, tonight, after dinner, at the infirmary. Her face got a slightly grumpy look to it. No way, that's impossible. All right, all right. After dinner, I'm at your service. I thought too late. At my words, Lena blushed even harder. I need to find a way to ease this situation. Why did the nurse ask you to do it? I don't know. I was just sitting on a bench, reading a book, when she came and... It's smart to ask a reliable person who would never say no. Okay, well then, after dinner. Okay, I'll be off then. Yes, sure. She walked off somewhere beside the clubs, and I just stood in the square for some time. So, what's next? I decided to visit my cabin in order to collect my phone. I don't know where I'll find myself today, but having a watch is always useful. Though, having a wristwatch is much easier. Suddenly I heard a different tune, which was cutting through the usual noise of the camp. I listened to it carefully. Sounds like an electric guitar. 3 repeating chords, no more. But this melody still felt somehow warm, as if a vacuum tube-based audio amplifier was used. Could there be such a luxury here? The sound was definitely coming from somewhere near the stage area. I wonder who that could be. Yeah, let's go take a look. Coming to the stage area, I caught sight of Alisa on the stage. The girl was giving it all, with her eyes closed. She placed one of her legs upon the speaker and was swaying her body with the rhythm. Oh, hold on. This is a good chance to debut something. I made a censor bar. I made a censor bar for if things get improper. Hold on. This is the perfect time for this. There we go. Now we're having some good, clean fun. The girl was giving it all, with her eyes closed. She placed one of her legs upon the speaker and was swaying her body with the rhythm of the music. I couldn't recognize the melody, but I was pretty sure that I heard it before. Probably something from Soviet rock. I could have named a dozen bands in this genre right off the bat, but I was hardly an expert. The song seemed really simple, literally just a 3-chord progression. Probably even I could have played it, given some time to practice. I wondered where Alisa got her playing skills. In the USSR, such music had never been nationally acclaimed. The future rock star wasn't taking any notice of me. It was like she was trying to become one with the music, to resound in every note, in every bar, in every triplet. Rock heroes of the 80s instantly came to my mind. Many of them were devoted to the music in a similar way. If she got dressed in something more suitable for that period's fashion, instead of her pioneer uniform, no one would notice the difference. Her performance was coming to an end. Picking out the last couple of chords, Alisa finally noticed me. And we'll hide that. What voice did I use for her? I think I did the evil weasel voice for her. If I were to portray a cartoon weasel, this would be the voice I'd use. Yeah, I'm an evil weasel. Blah, blah, blah. Did you like it? She doesn't seem as surprised as I would have expected. Yeah, that was cool. As if you could do any better, smiled Alisa shyly. I'm not saying that I can do it better. I'm not a pro in music. No doubt. Yep. I didn't know what to tell her next and was heading on my way. Wait a minute. What? Heard about the evening dance party? I thought it was a ball. Ball? Dance party? What's the difference? She frowned. Yes, I did. And so what? Are you going to go? After throwing those words, she turned away. I'm not sure. And you? What am I going to do there? Watch a herd of morons? There was some truth in Alice's words, but this open disrespect surprised me. It's clear that it's not the idea of a ball that she hates. But why? What do you mean by why? Well, why don't you want to come? Dance parties ought to be fun. Do you really think so? Annoyance flashed in her voice. I don't know, but I thought that you would. Never liked him, she interrupted me. There's absolutely nothing to do at such parties. I see. So what's your plan then? I asked just to keep the conversation going. I'll just carry on practicing. What are you practicing? The song, dumbass. You even heard it. Alisa had gone totally mad. A few more wrong questions and I will have to run for my life. Who wrote that song? I did. So, you wrote it by yourself? By myself. Cool. An awkward silence hung in the air. Okay, then. Don't you want to listen? Didn't I just hear it? That's not what I meant, she pouted. The whole song. It's just a jam for now. Oh, come on. Do it then. Not right now. Well, don't do it then. I felt uncertain about what she wanted from me. You mean you don't want me to play? Seems like I frustrated her. I got ready for her to smash the guitar on my forehead, or something even worse. but there was only an upset expression on Alice's face. I want to. I told you. Come here tonight, then. I'll play it for you. For me? How cute. Tonight is the dance party. You said that you wouldn't go. I didn't say that. Frankly speaking, I didn't want to go, but messing around with Dvetch? I'm going to say Dvetch is what I'm going to call that. I'm sure I heard it last time and it was sounded out, and now I've forgotten because it's been a week. I didn't want to go, but messing around with Dvetch was no good either. Olga Dimitrievna won't like it. Screw her, said Alisa, getting steamed up. Well, I'm making a lot of promises today, and I'm going to keep all of them. We're going to do the sitcom bit where I, out of breath, run between 3 different venues and come up with excuses like chopping firewood to switch between them. That's how I envision this going. Between shame at the dance party and Vachevskia's mad guitar skills, I'd rather pick the latter. Good boy. Oh, boy. She smiled strangely. I was just wondering if the decision I made was a right one, when suddenly I was interrupted by a ringing, calling the pioneers for lunch. I looked towards the canteen. I suppose it's time to go. Hunger is a sharp thorn. I turned around with the intent to call Alisa to come along, but she looked so cheerless and down. Every musician should know when it's time to leave, I grumbled under my breath. Ellipse. Who is marching forward in a row? It's our pioneer squad. Pioneers in a row usually march towards the canteen in the Sovniok camp. I was looking for a place where no one would disturb me, like what happened before. Just so I can eat in peace. This guy's a real loner. And for that, I have to at least not be the last one to come. But I was pretty sure whatever happens here happens whether I want it to or not. The canteen was crammed as full as an egg. Olga Dimitrievna was standing at the entrance, guarding it like a hawk. Well, Semyon, were you working hard today? Hard enough. Well done, truly well done, and the hardest is yet to come. Oh, I just bet. Fine, take a seat next to the girls. She pointed at the table next to the pillar. Slavia, Uliana, and Lena were already sitting there. Not bad company. At least, not the worst. I got my meal and went up to them. Do you mind if I sit here? I caught myself sounding a bit clueless. There were no other free places anyway. Oh, what did I do? I think hers was just like laid back speaking voice. No, of course not. And then little one, of course, is Pipsqueak. Please do. Lena remained silent. Today the meal consisted of a plate of borscht. I suspected there was some meat lurking in it, but I had no evidence. Some poultry, chances are Chickenus domesticus, with fried potatoes and a traditional glass of compote. That sounds good. That sounds like a good meal, provided it's made well. I'd eat that. I found myself liking the local food more and more. I guess I just came to the conclusion that I have no other choice, which means there's no use in complaining. Thank God there's something to eat. Coming to the ball tonight? I don't know. though I already had my arrangements with Alisa.
He'll come. He got nowhere to go,
Uliana said happily. You will come for sure.
Of course. I can't miss the opportunity to watch you make a fool of yourself.
She got it right, so I decided not to reply. And what about you? I asked Lena.
Yes,
She replied briefly. See, you should go too then, said Slavia, as if leaving me no choice.
don't forget to wear your tailcoat.
Apparently, Uliana was so pleased with her joke that she laughed out loud. But I really had nothing to wear. My wardrobe was just a pioneer uniform and my winter clothes, which would be inappropriate even in the evening. And what will you be dressed in, entertainer?
Secret.
Will it be a little dress just like in a kindergarten's matinee? Uliana turned red. Looks like I managed to offend her.
No, I will wear a biohazard suit, just so I don't catch an infection from you.
I wonder what kind of infection you are afraid of catching from me. I don't like this. Enough, you guys. Don't quarrel.
Idiocy, of course.
Looks like Uliana was highly pleased with her, as she thought. Brilliant answer again.
You know,
Oh, what am I doing? You know, if you already have the flu, you can't catch a cold. Two can play at that game.
what are you implying?
Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. I looked away slyly.
Do you mean that?
She went red again. I don't mean anything.
Guys,
Given that it was Lena who interfered, it probably really was time to stop.
you're asking for it. You're gonna get it.
What? You'll finally wise up? Instead of replying, Uliana grabbed her plate filled with borscht and tipped it over my head. The game met an unexpected finale. Oh, you little. She jumped up and tried to run away. Oh, boy. Sensor bar. Sensor bar, I need you. Oh, that's me. Hold on. Sensor bar. We're not showing that. But this time she won't get away. I grabbed her hand. And now what? I can't just smash her head against the table. This pantomime lasted a few seconds. Suddenly, Uliana skillfully grabbed a glass full of compote and splashed it in my face. That way she managed to get free of my grip. She dashed off towards the counter, and I chased her. This resulted in several flipped tables, a pile of smashed tableware, 5 pioneers crippled by various injuries, and full exhaustion of both parties. A draw. Sort of. A belligerent draw. With too much belligerence. We stood before each other and breathed heavily. Tell me you won't behave this way again.
And you?
Olga Dimitrievna snuck up on us from behind. When you think about it, such a riot couldn't go unnoticed. Well, are you satisfied with yourselves now? Her voice appeared to be calm, but I was sure she was just about to explode. And who's going to clean up all this mess? Exactly what happened. Who, I'm asking you, who?
Him.
Replied Uliana with complete confidence. Her. I objected, less confidently. Both. The camp leader brought a conclusive end to this ongoing argument. Generally, I wasn't sure that my share of the blame is more than hers, though Uliana didn't have a drop of guilt on her face.
Beat it. I'm not cleaning. Ain't nobody got time for that. This is his fault. He started it first.
No, it isn't.
Oh, yes, it is.
I'm not going to sort out all that nonsense. Semyon, go grab a mop, a bucket, some cloths. You know, that kind of stuff in the closet. And as for you... She looked at Uliana with such a burning gaze that I felt a bit sorry for the girl. You start to pick up the broken tableware immediately. Olga Dimitrievna took a deep breath and continued. You're nothing but trouble. How many times have I told you? I decided to skip the lecture and went to the closet that appeared to be near the exit. Suddenly, a perfect idea flashed in my head. Why don't I just run away? Sure, Olga Dimitrievna had caught us already, but I'm not the one to blame. Of course, I'm not that true pioneer she keeps talking about. But in comparison to Uliana... Anyways, she's the principal culprit. It's not like I have nothing better to do than cleaning up the mess here. I have to seek answers. The truth is out there, somehow flashed through my mind. Help, don't help, help, don't help. My guy's not a very helpful guy. Let's don't help. The solution came out of thin air. While Olga Dimitrievna was scolding Uliana, I snuck to the exit. Thank goodness it was nearby. Slipping outside, I hesitated for a few moments and ran into Electronic. Looks like he was working till late at the club. Where's the fire? Fire? My shuttle is leaving in 10 minutes. What? Hey, wait! Electronic's words hung in the air behind me. I ran off towards the square. It's definitely not the best place to hide. Indeed, in a state of stress or fatigue, I frequently start talking to myself. Well, not really talking, but rather mumbling under my breath. It helps me to concentrate and find the right solution quickly. Okay, where to next? Where should I go? The best place would be the one with the least amount of people. Consequently, my way lies in the woods. Half a minute later, I was already relaxing, sitting on a stump near the forest trail. That was one hell of a getaway. I hope that will teach Uliana to behave. Indeed, she's not a child anymore. Well, sad but true. Not a child anymore. Now, a thought crossed my mind. I might have sort of mishandled the whole situation. A fair share of that broken tableware is because of me. Moreover, one might mention that I didn't have to engage in that mess at the beginning. It got me thinking. How's the weather? Slavia stood right before me. How does she manage to sneak up unnoticed? Thank goodness it's not Olga Dimitrievna. Fine. Those were the only words I managed to squeeze out of myself. I thought I'd find you here. Why? I'm not sure. It's just... She looked up at the sky. There are fewer people around here. Does Slavia really think I have some sort of social phobia? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I'm telling you that right now. On second thoughts, She actually has a good reason to think so. And what are you doing here? Looking for you? She smiled again, but this time her smile looked a bit different. A little friendlier, I guess. Me? Why? Can't you guess? I braced and prepared for a harsh lecture. I understand that you're guilty to a lesser degree than Uliana. Now the camp's assistant leader is now the camp leader's assistant is defending me. I felt even more pathetic. Damn, get serious. We're not playing bad cop, good cop here. But if I grant that you aren't going to help her, you can at least help me. Saying that, Slavia looked up at the sky yet again. I wonder what she's looking for up there. And what do I need to do? We have to reorganize the books in the library. It's way better than disciplinary enslavement together with Uliana. Oh, this is Semyon. And anyways, it was an offer I couldn't refuse. I'm all at your service, mademoiselle. Or, madam. She laughed. Then follow me, monsieur. In a couple of minutes, we were in the library. All the way, I kept looking around in fear of meeting Olga Dimitrievna. Looks like Slavia didn't notice my anxiety. And still, it's quite odd that she hasn't scolded me. Well, if we were to continue our analogy, Slavia is definitely the good cop. When we were inside, gleaming sunlight streamed through the windows of the library, with a myriad of dust particles dancing in the beams. This is special library dust, with that distinctive smell that you can never confuse with anything else. These microscopic pieces of the moribund collected works of Marxism, Leninism classics. That's interesting. Does the dust near the fiction shelf smell similar to the dust near the books on physics and chemistry? You start with those rows. Slavia pointed at the bookshelf near Lenin's sculpted head. Okay, but what exactly do I have to do? Just remove the books from the shelves and put them on the floor. We'll dust them, and then we'll put them back. By looking at all this dust, reading is hardly the pioneer's favorite activity. Any idea where Zhenya might be? Don't know. She probably went somewhere. Strange. It appears there are just two places in the world where one can meet Zhenya, the library and the canteen. I got into gear. I guess I've never handled so many books in at one time in my entire life. Anyway, I'm much more used to reading from a computer screen or a tablet. Firstly, there is no need to pay for electronic books, and secondly, you cannot find everything in printed form. How's it going? Asked Slavia, standing behind the bookshelves. It's okay. It's going little by little. Have you read anything about that? About what? Well, about communism. Nah, I'm kind of more into historical books. And adventures. Me too. Well, historical literature wasn't exactly my favorite, but the class struggle under socialism was definitely no match for it. Hey, don't hold a grudge against Uliana. I don't. Indeed, I felt that my had ego mostly recovered from the incident at the canteen. Besides, I managed to cleanse myself of the lunch leftovers in a forest lake. It's not like she's doing all that out of spite. Out of spite or not, one should think through one's own actions. Whatever. I kept moving around dozens of books written by people totally unknown to me. I'm gonna forget who they are in a minute, and I'll never get to know what they are writing about. That is a doom of many writers, to become a forsaken set of letters in a hard cover on a bookshelf in the library of a non-existent pioneer camp's reality. Have you finished? Yeah, I think so. Me too. Okay, let's do it this way. I'll wipe them down, and you put them back on the shelves. But I don't double M remember what order they were placed in before. It's okay. Nobody reads them anyway. It looks like she has a smile for every occasion. A couple of times I've noticed slight differences, shades of emotions in that smile. Joy, happiness, sadness. But these shades were so evanescent, I wasn't really sure that I'm not imagining things. This time her smile looked a little flirty. Yeah, probably. At least, I wouldn't be reading this stuff. Slavia wiped the covers with a damp cloth, and I was putting the books back on the shelf. We were a good team. Our job was almost done. Why didn't you take anything from the upper shelves? Upper shelves? I looked up. Sorry, I hadn't noticed them. It's all right. Wait a moment. I'll bring the chair. Even with my rather considerable stature, I wouldn't be able to get them. I stood on the chair and proceeded to remove the books from the shelves and pass them to Slavia. After a while, there were only about a dozen books left at the farthest end of the shelf. It looked to me like it wouldn't be hard to reach that far. I had always been the type to take a larger bite rather than biting twice. And taking that bite without moving the chair under me became a fatal error. Uh-oh. Opening my eyes, I found myself on top of Slavia. Did I? Hold on. Gotta get that bit back out. There. I know there's nothing there, but that's pretty funny. Are you alive? I got the fright of my life. Even if I'm only 17 now, falling off a chair onto a girl is something else. I'm fine. Her face was only an inch away from mine. Anything broken? I don't think so. You'd make a rather bad stuntman. She laughed. You bet. I looked into her eyes. Just looked. I wasn't sure what I should say. And Slavia either hesitated too, or just let me take the lead. At this rate, something might happen. Her lips were so close to mine. A natural desire started to awake in my body, but was it right? I had the urge to stand up, but was unable to do so. I might be glad I put that censor bar there if he's trying to stand up right now. Slavia was just lying in silence and looking me straight in the eyes. All of a sudden, I noticed the bell ringing on the edge of my hearing. It's dinner time. Yeah. Shall we go? Or shall we lie here some more? She smiled again, and this time her smile seemed foxy to me, as if she was hinting at something. Let's go. I didn't move an inch. Well, if we're going to go, you need to get up first. Obviously. It felt like some invisible force was holding me in place. Slavia seemed to recognize that and carefully slipped out from under me. Are you going to stay there? She laughed. At that point, I finally came to my senses and stood up. I'm sorry. That's okay. But we haven't finished at all. We'll have to clean up the rest later. Yeah, sure. I stayed silent all the way to the canteen. Slavia rambled on about her life in the camp, but given that it was indeed a monologue, I wasn't paying much attention. Going to the canteen, I saw Olga Dimitrievna on the porch, with a sweet combat music ready to strike me down. Don't you have some explaining to do, young man? Now I remember what it was that I'd forgotten. Nope. How was your cleaning duty? Good enough. That's not what Uliana told me. That was all her fault. And what did I tell you? I ordered you to clean it up together. And what were you doing? I didn't know what to say, as deep down I knew that she's right. Don't blame him. Semyon was helping me at the library. Oh, really? Yeah. Well, that's all great and stuff, but to cut a long story short, you won't get dinner tonight. How is that? Why? I protested. However, my protest looked more like a demand for a refill at the prison mess hall. Bold and daring, but still stupid and counterproductive. Hopefully that will teach you a lesson. In that instant, Olga Dimitrievna looked more like an ancient Roman legionnaire commander than a tiny pioneer camp leader. I had no idea how to oppose her. Forgive him, and hold me responsible. The camp leader took her time to think it over. All right, if you say so. Thanks. Thanks. I have no idea what Slavia's motivations are. I feel that she might betray me, but that might just be the mercury poisoning making me paranoid. Wink. We hurried inside. Well, I'm going to join the girls. We had a prior arrangement. Take care. She smiled and waved her goodbyes. Seriously, where would I be without her? There were no free places near Slavia, and besides, I hadn't been introduced to her friends. It seems that I will have to share a dinner table with Electronic and Shurik. There were no more places to sit. What's happening, gentlemen? Every time I had to deal with them, I got an itching desire to tease them, or at least drop some cheeky or cocky banter. It might be too risky to behave that way, but the Electronic brothers were my primary source of positive emotions. How are you doing? Fine. What about you? Hits and misses. Oh, what was Shurik? Shurik, I just kind of did like a low drone, I think. Did something happen? Lots of stuff. Mind sharing? Nah, some other time maybe. Suit yourself. He made a helpless gesture. We're going to the ball after dinner. Electronic giggled. I know that. Who would you want to ask out? I hadn't thought about it yet. What about you? I. It seemed that this question that he asked himself originally caught him off guard. Ask Uliana, that would make her happy. No thanks. Electronic furiously waved his hands. And you, Shurik, you gotta ask Alisa out. Thanks. I'll pass. He looked calmer than his mate. Oh, come on, guys. It'd be fun. And in any case, we've got things to do. We still have to finish the robot. Oh, that's a marvelous idea. Ask your robot out. Can it dance? It can't even walk yet. Shurik probably missed the point completely. Why, it would be a great demonstration of our achievements in front of the camp. And what would we show to them? Yeah, you're right. They both stared at their plates disappointedly. Ellipse. 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 Dinner was over, and the pioneers started to disperse. What will you wear for the ball? I asked Shurik and Electronic. We don't have anything special to wear. We'll go as we are. He indicated his pioneer uniform. They don't seem to care about their appearance at all. Well, why should I care then? Wearing my winter clothes isn't an option, so I'll go just like this. When does it start? After 9 o'clock. Got it. Excuse me. I left the canteen and deeply inhaled the fresh evening air. I remembered those rare dances I used to go to at school. Hesitation, insecurity, even fear. I couldn't dance. I didn't know how to react if someone had invited me, and I wouldn't dare invite someone myself. All in all, I felt pretty uncomfortable about it. And it was even more unpleasant to watch others having fun. It wasn't envy. More like it was a disconcerting feeling that people were able to enjoy something so odd for me. I thought that there was still lots of time till the ball, so I could just sleep a little to be fresh in the evening. Entering the camp leader's cabin, I flopped onto the bed instantly and shut my eyes. Ellipse. Strangely enough, I got up right on time, even without an alarm. The clock was showing 9. Such a rare thing to happen. I felt sluggish, though. Probably wasn't the best idea to sleep during the day after all. I'm going to see Alisa instead of the dance, so it's time then. But I agreed to help Lena. And what should I do now? Dance, Alisa, dance, Alisa, dance. You know what? I think we're doing the Alisa route. We've already won the card game. A few minutes later, I approached the stage. Maybe it was a bad idea accepting her offer. Just talking to Vachevskaya means danger. On the other hand, I wasn't eager to go to the dance. What can I do there? I'd only disgrace myself. No, I'm better off listening to Alisa play the guitar. Coming closer, I saw a person sitting on the edge of the Coming closer, I saw a person sitting on the edge of the stage with her legs dangling. So you came after all. Alisa put the guitar aside and jumped to the ground. There was even a trace of joy on her face for a moment. Playing for someone is surely more interesting than being alone. As you can see, what are we going to do? What do you mean, what? I'm asking you. Well, you wanted. I got a sudden idea that this situation was one of her usual pranks, and I should never have expected to hear any guitar songs. I'm going to bed. Bye. I turned around and waved a hand intentionally slowly.
Hey!
Alisa grabbed my sleeve. What?
Don't you want to listen?
Listen to what? You yourself don't know what you're going to do.
Of course I know.
She took the guitar and hit the splings with a plectrum a couple of times.
Sit next to me.
I didn't object, and in a moment I was sitting beside her. It's better this way. Miss the dance, leave now, and then what would I do? The role of a stranger was more suitable for a passive observer, and not for the eager seeker of answers who I wanted to be so badly.
So, I'll show you how to play this song now.
Just like that? Right away?
What do you mean, right away?
I haven't held a guitar for a long time. She could probably guess how long it had been since I'd held one. My skills were enough to make a cat laugh.
It's not difficult.
I threw an intense look at Alisa. My eyes completely disappeared from my face. It distinctly seemed to me now that she just can't express her feelings. She could lose her strange self-control for a moment, and I'd get to see a casual and even funny and friendly girl. And then, when her self-confidence and impudence turned back on, it was bitchness as usual. And which was the real one?
Hey!
What?
Stop daydreaming.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I think I need to turn the game audio down a bit. Which one is it? Nope, that's not it. Settings. There we go. Oh, yeah, sorry.
So, are you watching?
I am. What song is this?
The one I played this morning, of course.
Oh, okay. I'm listening. Alisa made up her mind and started to play. Ellipse.
That's it. Did you get everything?
I may have understood it, but I probably won't be able to replicate it. How shall I put it?
It's okay. Practice makes perfect.
She is undoubtedly right on this point, but I've had problems with practice all my life. Well, wasn't this an electric guitar? Or maybe this is a different guitar. I took the guitar from Alisa and tried to play the first chord. It was hard, as if my fingers were tied in a knot and didn't want to be in the right place. I used to be better before, but now I wouldn't even be able to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Well,
wait a moment.
Looks like you won't be a rock hero.
She laughed kindly. It may be better this way, I hissed, vainly trying to remember the order of strings to press. Well, the guitar started to make devilish sounds, resembling the groans of a wounded dinosaur. My left hand fingers constantly missed the right frets, and my right hand didn't strike in rhythm. Let's call that progressive rock.
Progressive? Well, well, give it back.
She took the guitar away, and it sounded completely different in her hands. I felt embarrassed by my clumsiness for a moment. Alice's skill might not be on the level of a professional guitarist, but nevertheless, she played simple things like this with confidence. She must have had a lot of practice.
Did you get it this time?
she finished and offered the guitar to me. Well, I did better the second time, but it was still a long way from Alice's level. Or from any decently adequate level. I was aware of how totally worthless I was compared to her. It seemed so simple. Just play a song with 3 chords. The tune is too simple, though. I put the guitar aside. Alisa was lost in thought for a moment. Even a preschool kid could play it better. Thanks. I tried. So I noticed. She might be trying to demonstrate her evident superiority at playing the guitar. It's not like everyone can be a musician. Not really. Alisa looked up at the sky. Though you can't be one, that's for sure. Why is that? You should have heard yourself. I started to regret coming here. Well, don't mind me. Why does Alisa need to do this? It's obvious that I'm a horrible guitarist. Obviously. But if I had some practice... So, will you practice? I don't know. Maybe I will. The guitar was the least of my problems, though. I'm stuck in a strange world I can't escape from. That's more important than a stupid argument with Alisa. I suddenly felt an annoying self-pity, apathy, and urge to leave this place, to forget this evening. Those feelings left a nasty impression and a burning desire to do or say something stupid. As if it would change anything. What? Me learning to play the guitar. You surely couldn't. You'd strum the guitar for a couple of days and give it up. Alice's words pierced my heart. You know what? Or well, should she know? Is it any concern of hers? Am I reacting this way because it's true? Or that it's Alisa who spoke that truth? You can't know how to do everything. Probably not. But you should be able to at least do something. So, are you saying that I can't do anything? How should I know? You know, I what? Should I tell her about my computer skills? Or about the books I've read and the movies I've watched? Oh, well, this is a pointless conversation. That goes without saying. You're only concerned with having fun. And you do nothing but whine. Forget it. I jumped down from the stage and walked away from the concert area. Go then, I heard Alisa yelling to me. I'm already going. I hissed. The path led me back to the square. There was Slavia in the center of it, sweeping the area. Here, whenever emotions turmoil out of turn, to even me out, because she's the monitor for me in this simulation, is my prediction now. Oh, Semyon, hi. I thought everyone was already asleep. No. What are you doing? Cleaning up after the ball. Oh, wait, no. Cleaning up after the ball. Why didn't you come? Just. And where have you been? I hadn't the slightest intention of telling Slavia how I embarrassed myself on stage with the guitar in front of Alisa, while the whole camp was having fun at the square. I took a walk. Okay, but you should have come. It was fun. Glad you enjoyed yourself. I'd been sweating like a pig today because of worries or just the hot night. Hey, do you know where I can have a bath? Certainly. Go straight, then a bit to the left by the path, then to the right, and there will be a bathhouse. Ellipse. Should I accompany you? No, no need. I'll find it myself. I totally didn't want to burden her more. I walked along the forest path in the direction Slavia showed. My whole body was itching. How didn't I notice it before? And more importantly, what else hadn't I noticed? If things keep going like this, then I'll have to stay in this world forever. I shivered at the thought. Probably at the idea that I didn't feel any terror, or even just fear. Just like it's all the natural flow of things. I could see the bathhouse behind the trees. And why do the pioneers have baths here? Olga Dimitrievna had said something about repairs to the showers, though. No reason to worry about it now. There were soap and clean towels, so I quickly washed myself, went outside, and breathed in a chest full of fresh night air. So it's so wonderful that physical cleanliness brings spiritual cleanliness. All of my problems, if not went away, then at least became less important. It's like the water washed away not only the dirt from body, but also the anxiety from my mind. I suddenly started yawning, so I headed to the leader's cabin, rubbing my eyes. I didn't even take a few steps before Alisa jumped out from the bushes.
You! What are you doing here?
I was just washing myself. She came to her senses and spoke again.
And?
And what?
How should I know?
Then why do you speak if you don't know? All my peace of mind vanished in a moment. Only the irritation and the weariness remained. Okay. Well, if you don't mind.
Wait.
Now what?
If back there on the stage you thought that, well, I didn't want to offend you or anything.
It's okay. I'm not offended. I just can't play the guitar. Nothing special. A lot of people can't. I felt that there was obvious signs of irritation in my voice, but I couldn't do anything about it. I wanted to say everything to her face, right here, right now.
Exactly. You can't.
Alisa obviously restrained herself from laughing. Oh, I've already had enough of you. She totally drove me out of my wits at that moment. In another second, I would have started to yell at her. Or worse.
Wait.
Would you just leave me alone? Alisa followed me, but didn't try to stop me.
I really didn't want to offend.
Some invisible power made me turn around. Okay. Can I go now?
Yes, of course.
In the moonlight, Alisa looked very beautiful, with a brief, guilty expression on her face. If she could only keep her mouth shut.
What are you smirking at?
Although, nothing. I just thought that if only you were a little more polite, a little bit more polite.
Then what?
I shouldn't say such things. People could get ideas, depending on their intellectual abilities. Then nothing.
You should finish what you started.
There's nothing to finish. I'm very tired, and I am going to sleep.
Stop right there.
Don't make me run away from you.
As if you could.
She may be right. I am already exhausted from this day, and naturally, I had no intention of running after a bath.
So what?
What?
If only I could be more polite. Then what?
Try it, and you will see.
And why should I do anything for a fool like you?
Then don't try. What does it have to do with me? I sighed and dragged myself to the square.
And what about you, then?
What? I replied without turning to her.
Well, if I would, then you...
I don't know what you are talking about, but let's think that I would, if it is easier for you.
Moron.
Alyssa yelled at me and headed to the bathhouse. The square shined with the cleanness of a German road, which were washed with shampoo, or so people said. That's Slavia for you. And I just argued with Alyssa and nothing else. What for? As if it was really necessary. And her behavior. In any other situation, I would surely have said that Alyssa likes me and just hides it behind her rudeness. That's not important right now, though. Relationships, love, anything. Maybe she isn't even a human. And what if she was a human, and all this is happening in the real world? I drove those thoughts away and headed to the leader's cabin. Tiredness had overwhelmed me. I do like kind of playing this like a paranoid, the gimmick here is that this guy was in his like 20 somethings and then like regressed back to 17 when he got to the camp. And I do like kind of playing this like he's just like a clueless 20 something that doesn't know anything about, you know, social interactions or relationships and is just kind of paranoid because he spends too much time on the internet and he's kind of suspecting that he's in like this kind of isekai situation. And I think that's the way I'm going to keep playing it. I mean, the way he's monologuing to himself is he's already, you know, knocking around a few loose bolts in the old noggin. It was like an invisible obstacle stopped me in front of the door. Olga Dimitrievna would certainly like to know where I was and why I missed the dance. I'll get a full interrogation for sure. Counting the absence of Alyssa at the dance, too, it wouldn't be hard to guess that we skipped it together. On the other hand, should I even tell her that instead of going to the dance, Alyssa practiced playing the guitar and I just went along with the flow? Apparently, from some part of the internet that has never seen a German road before. Yeah, those roads are so clean, they clean them with shampoo. Of course they do. Nothing special, actually. Doesn't really matter why I left. So, at the same time, I thought that it could be better to keep silent. Well, I'll decide on the spot. I sighed and pulled the door handle. Oh, let's pull out that sensor bar. I'm not giving you guys anything. Well, enjoy it while you got it. There we go. That's pretty funny. Olga Dimitrievna was already waiting for me, wearing a dress. So, Semyon. Oh, wait, hold on. So, Semyon, where have you been? I. Oh, it's covering up the text box. The text box says, tell her you've been with Alyssa or make up another excuse. I'm going to see if he can lie his way out of this one because that's pretty funny. I was just walking around. Alone? Yes. Okay, that's not important. Why didn't you come to the ball? Well, frankly speaking, I don't like dancing. So what? That was a camp public event, which means every pioneer had to attend. She looked at me intently. You could just sit somewhere quietly. I'm sorry. I sighed. Okay. The leader softened. Go to bed quickly. The storm had passed. Ellipse. I tossed and turned but couldn't sleep. My head was full of thoughts about music, guitars, and Alisa. I wonder, could I become a professional musician? And do I even want to be one? Why should I want to? It certainly would be pretty fun, if nothing else. Or is Alisa the reason? She really is like an energy vampire, sucking all your juices. Ellipse. My eyes started to close, and I fell asleep a moment after. Day 4. We're going to save the game just in case. Boop. Uh-oh. I woke up with a hellish ringing inside my head. The ringing seemed to be coming from the depths of my consciousness. But after I came to my senses, I realized that the cause of this ringing is my alarm clock. Strange. Where did it come from? Why is it standing near my bed? It was 7:30 according to the clock. Olga Dmitrievna had already left, and there was nobody to force me to go to the lineup. Thus, I can sleep a bit more. I closed my eyes, but it seemed like my consciousness had already had its coffee and was ready for a long, productive day. I need to get up. I should plan my day out. After all, I need to at least find out something today. But still, nothing came to my head. Fine. I need to wake up completely and wash myself. On my way to washstands, I met Zhenya. What got you up so early? Anything wrong with being up early? She looked at me as if I had insulted her. No, nothing. Just curious. None of your business. Gosh, Zhenya isn't very sympathetic even when she's in a good mood, but today she just looked furious. The cold water perked me up, the fog in my head dissipated, and my thoughts started arranging themselves. Curiously, I started to worry about finding a good place in the canteen more than about finding answers. I'm noticing a theme where he gets distracted very easily, and I'm wondering if there's maybe some kind of mental manipulation on him to kind of make him conform to the world. We'll find out, I hope. I brushed my teeth and was going to leave when a quiet sound wafted past my ears. It's probably a squirrel or some other animal. I heard another sound, this time a bit farther. I walked 10 meters along the path, searching for the source. Nobody, just the morning forest. I returned to the washstands and saw Miku, who was looking for something in the grass. Noticing me, she smiled and jumped up to me. Oh, hello, good morning. I accidentally scattered my tooth powder. I was just trying to gather it back all up. The only thing I remember about doing this voice is that she talked really fast, and that way I have to talk really fast. So we're going to go with that. The dewy grass didn't seem to be helping matters. Are you sure that's a good idea? Well, why? What else can I do? I don't have any more. It was the last I had. She pouted like a child who just had her favorite toy taken from her. Here, I'll give you mine. I dug into my bag. No tooth powder there. Strange. Didn't I just put it there? I walked away for a minute and now it's gone. Listen, it looks like I have forgotten it. I didn't want to tell her that it had just gone missing. Knowing the sensitivity of this girl, it was safe to assume that vanishing household goods would impress her so much that her brain would reset itself in order to avoid overheating. Well, I'll be off. Yeah, cheers. Visit us. I mean, me. Visit me in the book club. Music club. Why'd I say book club? I'm still alone there. But I. Miku's voice faded in the freshness of the summer morning far behind me. Getting back to the leader's cabin, I took my cell phone and looked at the battery meter. Enough power for a day, maybe even less. Of course, it won't help me much in here, but still. Finding a charger in the 80s would mean inventing it. Still, regardless, the morning was shining and beautiful. The bright sun was shining over the space and time displaced pioneer camp Sovyanok, warming its residents and filling them with energy to spend the day productively. Or, in my case, to waste it in futile efforts to find an explanation for everything happening here. There was an unusually large crowd near the canteen. Of course, there was no other place in the camp that pioneers loved as much as the canteen. But why were they all crowding on the porch? I came closer to find out what was going on. It looked like all the camp had gathered on the porch. There were all the familiar girls, Olga Dimitrievna and Electronic. They were having a lively discussion. I drew closer. Oh, Semyon. Have you seen Shurik today? Nope. What's the matter? We haven't been able to find him since early morning. Disappearing pioneers. Well, that's something new. But he was with you yesterday? She was talking to Electronic. Yes, he was. So, you woke up this morning and he wasn't anywhere to be found? No. Why didn't you come to me immediately? Well, I thought he got up earlier and went to wash up or something. Did he mention anything yesterday? Interjected Slavia. For example? That he was going somewhere, for instance? Nope. What exactly is so horrifying about that? It's only 9 a.m. He might have decided to go for a walk. You don't know Shurik. She looked over at me seriously. Well, no, I don't. But I didn't see anything suspicious in this situation. Okay, let's stop panicking. We'll find him.
How could he miss breakfast?
Uliana grinned.
Exactly. Time to eat, anyway.
The pioneers proceeded into the canteen. Yet again, I had no choice where to fit in. The only free place at the table was with Alisa and Uliana.
Take a seat.
Oh, these two are going to be interesting to have together because one's just the higher, squeakier version of the other. She pointed at the chair next to her. I sat down.
Aren't you going to get your food?
Good idea. I hadn't thought about that. Today's breakfast didn't look much different from yesterday's, but it looked more appetizing. It's the mind control, or maybe I was just very hungry. Or maybe I was eager to finish it off as soon as possible to avoid yet another Uliana prank.
Want to go to the beach with us today?
When?
Right after breakfast.
Generally speaking, relaxation wasn't on my agenda today. But if I was going to spend my time thinking, why shouldn't I do it while getting a suntan? Sure, why not?
Ah, cool.
She smiled nicely. I bet you're planning another prank.
No, not at all.
Uliana waved her hands at me.
She sure is.
Alisa grinned.
She's always like that.
I looked at Alisa attentively and suddenly remembered yesterday evening. Her strange behavior, our quarrel. But now she looked like usual. Maybe there's no need to say anything to her. Though, I wasn't going to. At the end of the day, Everything that happened that night stopped seeming unusual, as if it was all just a dream.
No way!
I think she's right.
Nobody believes me.
Uliana took her tray of dirty dishes and stood up.
Enjoy your meal,
She said, in such a way that left no doubt, something good awaits me today at the beach. Me and Alissa were left alone. You know, I guess I shouldn't go with you after all.
Why is that?
Well, I've got something to do.
And what exactly would that be?
She looked in my eyes, and I couldn't even find an appropriate excuse. I don't even have a swimsuit.
Try mine. Try mine.
You think it'll fit me?
Give it a try.
I don't think it's worth the effort.
Don't be a wimp. We'll find you some swimming trunks.
The words only added to my fear.
Wait for me by the canteen. I'll be back soon.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with waiting for her, is there? Finishing my breakfast, I left the building and sat on the stairs. Pioneers, all having their own business, hurried past me, one by one. No one stopped by me. No one even looked in my direction. It seemed they didn't consider me a stranger, but exactly the opposite. Just another teenager their age. Their comrade, you could say. I caught myself thinking that I had started to consider this camp and its inhabitants with not as much caution as I had on the first day. Indeed, Alissa was back in a couple of minutes.
Ready?
Ready for what? She gave me the trunks. Though, you could hardly call them trunks. They looked like pink boxers decorated with butterflies and flowers. Actually, they were boxers. I'm almost afraid to ask, but where did you get these?
Too scared to put them on?
Well, you know, I have not the slightest intention of doing so. I appreciated her joke, but I wasn't going to make myself a laughingstock.
Put them on,
she said roughly. Why don't you try them on instead of me? I think that the color of this swimsuit would set off your eyes very nicely.
Let's make a bet.
I had no desire to accept her bets. No thanks.
All right, you either go to the beach wearing them or you swim naked.
Weighing the pros and cons, even the second option seemed better than the first. I'm not planning to go anywhere at all.
Then I'll tell everyone that you left these trunks in my cabin.
Why would I do that?
How should I know?
She burst into laughter. I didn't want to argue with Alissa, so I decided to go to the beach in the end. But not in those flamboyant trunks. Okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Don't be late.
She ran off after saying that. I dragged my feet to the leader's cabin to get a towel and to hopefully find something like trunks. Olga Dimitrievna was waiting for me in the room. Semyon, did you hear anything about Shurik? Same as half an hour ago. I walked to my bed and took a towel. Are you going somewhere? Yes, to the beach. Wait, do you have swimming trunks? You came here without any luggage, as I recall. Strange. That fact didn't seem to surprise her during our first encounter. No. So what will you wear? Good question. What? I don't know. Wait a minute. She walked to the wardrobe and unlocked a drawer. In a moment, she had a pair of normal black trunks. Where did she get those? More importantly, why? Someone from the previous session might have forgotten them. Considering all the strange things in this camp, it wasn't really surprising to find men's swimming trunks in Olga Dimitrievna's room. That wardrobe is like the command console for this game that he's trapped in, I'm guessing. Quote me on that. We'll get back to that later when this is all a simulation. Thanks. The trunks were just my size. Ellipse. I got changed behind the cabin and went to the beach. A lot of pioneers had already gathered there, but I recognized only Alisa and Uliana.
Come here.
I walked over to them and sat on the sand. All right, sensor bar's coming back up because it's funny. Oh, no, you don't.
I see you found something better.
She stared at my trunks and smirked. As you can see.
Come on, let's swim.
I don't want to. Maybe later. I was not a fan of swimming.
Suit yourself.
The girls ran into the water. Why did I come here? Why am I not out looking for answers? Should I care about it now? Sovyanok seemed normal. Certainly, a lot of strange things have happened to me during these 3.5 days, but not one of them, taken separately, seemed at all supernatural. Especially since I didn't get any closer to finding myself so much as a clue. On the contrary, everything that has happened has only confused me more. What alternatives do I have? I won't get any truth from the local residents, though I doubt they even know it. Should I try to leave this place? How far can I walk, considering that I don't even know where I am? It turns out that my only option is to wait. After some time, the girls came back. Uliana held something in her hands.
Look!
I looked up and saw a crayfish. Just a normal crayfish. I only have the one sensor bar. I guess we're covering that one up. All right, looky-loos, you get one of them. Next time I'll bring 2 sensor bars. Uliana lay next to me and started to torment it. Leave the poor animal alone.
Why? Why, it's just a crayfish.
So what? It has a right to live, too.
I'll rip its claws off and ask the cook to boil it for dinner.
As if we have nothing else to eat. I looked at Alisa. She seemed to be totally uninterested in Uliana's fun with the poor sea creature. Tell her.
What's wrong? It's a crayfish. It deserves it.
It looked like the girls missed their lessons on nature in primary school and lacked empathy for the environment. Oop. I missed one. Give it. All right, now go back. I snatched the crayfish off Uliana.
Suit yourself.
I was a little surprised she didn't resist. I looked into the eyes of the poor animal. They didn't express anything at all, but I thought that if it could speak, it would certainly be outraged. Maybe even go to the UN Convention of Human Rights. To tell the truth, I wasn't sure that would help. I took the crayfish to the river and set it free.
Never mind, I'll catch more. There are plenty of them here,
said Uliana. No doubt about it, I mumbled. Time passed and I was getting sleepy. I fell asleep. I don't remember what I was dreaming about, if I was dreaming at all, but I woke up when someone shook my shoulder. Olga Dimitrievna stood next to me. "Did you come to swim too?" I asked, still half asleep.
No. It's almost time for lunch, and we still can't find Shurik. I did, however, change into my bikini, though.
The leader said, standing before me in a wet swimsuit. "And I want you to look for him. It seems like I'm the only pioneer in this entire camp." I was sincerely outraged. Every time it was getting clearer that Olga Dimitrievna considered me her errand boy, to be used like a slave, or vice versa. "If I came to you, then I want you to help me. Why exactly me?" However, after giving it some thought, I decided to agree. After all, my shoulders and back got sunburned while I was sleeping, and searching for Shurik would let me get acquainted with unexplored locations of the camp. Okay. It was not exactly right to wander around wearing only swimming trunks, so I should get changed first. Ellipse. 10 minutes later, I stood outside Olga Dimitrievna's cabin, deciding where to go. Okay, so it seems like we have some choices here. Boat or bus? I'm feeling boat. Maybe Shurik decided to pick up stones near the water. In the worst case, I'll find his corpse. But I'm sure it won't end up that way. If it hard cut immediately to his lifeless body in the water, that would have been hilarious. I was crossing the square when somebody called out to me.
"Wait!"
Alyssa came up and smiled. I immediately sensed a trap.
"Where are you going?"
"I'm searching for Shurik. Olga Dimitrievna asked me to."
"And how is it? Exciting?"
She looked intently into my eyes, and I turned away awkwardly. "Not really. But, a pioneer is missing."
"And surely you're not freaking out over such a minor thing."
"What do you mean?"
"Only a few hours have passed. Maybe he just lost track of time while having a walk."
Certainly I'd had the same idea, but I wasn't telling her that. Yes, that's true. But who knows what could have happened?
"Let me help you with it."
With what? I got suspicious.
"With looking for Shurik."
"Oh, but I can do it."
"Oh, come on."
She smiled at me, but there was something malevolent in that smile. Naturally, her smile was cute enough, but it really seemed to me like there was something behind it. "Well, if you insist." Since I could not understand what's on her mind, I had no real reason to refuse.
"But before we go, I have to get one thing from home."
"Okay, I'll wait for you."
"You're actually serious about just standing there? Let's go."
"Okay." We approached Alice's cabin. It would be just like all other cabins, if not for the Jolly Roger on the door.
"By the way, Oleana is my roommate."
"Okay." We entered the cabin. The complete chaos inside really reminded me of my old flat. Though, why I thought of it as old In general, I would imagine a girl's room differently. Snow-white sheets, walls, floors, and ceiling shining, spotless. But when you consider that the two most exemplary pioneers are living here, we just stood silently for some time. So what did you need to get?
Huh?
It seemed like I had interrupted Alice's thinking.
Yeah. It's not here, actually. Wait here. I'll be back in a minute.
She smiled and ran out. She seems really flaky today. I began to examine the room. I wouldn't say that there had been an explosion. It was just a decent mess. Well, at least by looking at all this mess, created in one pioneer session, I can surely say that I am not the messiest person in the world. The decoration of my apartment took years to be completed. I wasn't thinking about anything in particular, was just looking around the room. Posters of Soviet artists, some books on the shelves, various household items. And then I realized that everything is wrong. Something will happen soon. Something bad. Why did Alisa leave me here all alone? There was something I had to discover. My gut told me that it's dangerous to stay here. I went to the door and tried to open it. Locked. What a surprise. How did she manage to quietly lock me in? I don't know what's on her mind, but I need to get out of here. I went to the window, opened it, and climbed out. Now I can go and take care of business. Or I chose the second option and waited. What is the reason she had locked me up, or she had me locked up? I wanted to know what was happening. Plus, I really wanted to see Alice's face when she finds her room empty. I hid in the bushes next to the house and waited. After some time, I heard footsteps. Alisa and Olga Dimitrievna came to the house.
You'll see everything for yourself.
She opened up the door and went in. A few seconds later, she ran back out.
You know,
Alice's face looked as if she'd just won the mouse-catching competition, but at the last moment found out that it's not a real Olympic sport. It's just me in the bushes here. So he just disappeared? Olga Dimitrievna asked skeptically. I did the right thing by closing the window after myself.
Oh no. You know,
I understand everything, Vachevskaya. You and your roommate, every time the same thing. Haven't you had enough yet?
But it's true.
Really? One story after another. Semyon in your cabin, Semyon harassing you. Why do you keep lying? That's horrible. Alisa seemed really upset and, to my surprise, was not trying to argue. On the one hand, it was funny to look at, but on the other, I felt a bit sorry for Vachevskaya. She deserves it, though. Our leader finally finished scolding her and left. Alisa was mad. She clenched her fists and trembled. Her face was flushed. It seemed to me that she was going to explode. I sat in the bushes and laughed quietly. However, I was wondering what was on her mind and came out of my hiding place, not afraid of being beaten. So what exactly did you want to show the leader? Me? Alisa turned and looked at me with disbelief. After a moment, surprise turned to anger.
You.
What about me? She calmed down a bit.
I wanted to take revenge.
For what? Really, what did I do to this girl to warrant revenge?
You beat me in cards.
What a fantastic reason. No doubt. I see. Maybe I should apologize to you? I asked sarcastically.
Screw you.
She went into the house, slamming the door. I wasn't angry at Alisa. In the end, I'd expected her to do something like this. Anyway, I got through it without consequences. I was very lucky. Her confusion and embarrassment just made my day. Chuckling, I left Alice's cabin, which was about to become my death trap. Alright, so we never did end up going to the boathouse. Let's go to that bus stop. Forest? Forest. It's obvious that Olga Dimitrievna and her pioneers have already searched every nook and cranny of the camp. Roamed the length and breadth of it. So it's probably not worth looking for Shurik in the canteen or on the beach. Or in the Cybernetics Club. It was his second home. Maybe even his first. Thus, it might be worth looking around the surrounding forest. I didn't plan to go far into the forest. Otherwise, it might be me who they'll be searching for tomorrow. I didn't really visit the countryside often. I just stayed in a country house every summer during my childhood. But that one was very close to the city. But in this camp, it was possible to find everything I hadn't seen for so long. Overwhelming vegetation, singing birds, and fresh air. I found a meadow and sat on a stump. How peaceful this place is. But where in the world is Shurik? Actually, he could have been taken against his will. This camp is far from normal, so pioneer disappearances should not be all that strange. An intriguing possibility. Could it be the work of whichever force sent me here, or is it just some separate local entity's doing? Lost in my own thoughts, I didn't notice how the grass before me started moving. I looked closely and saw a squirrel. It approached me carefully and stared at my hands. Probably used to getting fed here. Sorry, friend. I don't have anything on me, or with me. Of course, the squirrel could not understand me and continued to just sit there, waiting for treats. I felt sorry for it because I didn't even have a crumb of bread in my pocket. I realized that I'm even ashamed to look it in the eyes and decided to move on. Ellipse. After some more wandering, I came to the wash stands. Turns out that he's not in the forest either. At least, not in the surrounding area. And going farther is just frightening. I walked to the wash stands, took off my shirt, and tried to wipe myself down because I was all sweaty. However, it wasn't so easy. I won't be able to get into the wash bowl, and there isn't even a ladle. Suddenly, I heard footsteps from behind. I turned around. Electronic was walking my direction. Looking for Shurik? Yes. You too? Me too. Listen, you know him better. Where could he have gone? I don't have a clue, he answered sadly. Well, I just don't understand why everyone has made such a fuss. During the night, wasn't he in the cabin with you? Then he can't have been gone for too long. Maybe he just went for a walk. You don't know Shurik, said Electronic excitedly. He is fantastic. He is fanatically dedicated to his work. His life consists of robotics and cybernetics. People like him are one in a million. No, in a billion. His talent is boundless. I look up to him. He is a man of steel. No, simply triumphant. At that moment he looked like Hitler, making a speech in front of a crowd of thousands. Even his gestures matched. In that case, even his gestures matched. Okay, so what? Let's put that away.
So what? You don't understand, do you?
No.
He spends all of it, you see. All of his free time in our club. All.
So, disappearing like that is unusual for him?
Of course.
Seems like electronic calmed down. Okay. He looked at me intently.
Are you going to wash?
Not really. Just rinse off a little. It is hot.
Me too.
He looked around.
I wish there was a bucket or a ladle, something to get more water with.
Yeah, I noticed already.
And let's do this.
He walked behind the washstands and pulled on one of the taps. To my surprise, its end turned up, and rather than pouring into the wash bowl, water splashed up at almost 90 degrees. You could manage to wash yourself that way.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Electronic took off his shirt and then squatted, so it seemed like he pulled down his shorts.
Well, I'm not discriminatory. We're going to cover those nips up. There we go. None of those now.
I couldn't really tell, because the washstand he was beside concealed him up to his waist. He directed the stream towards himself and started to sing something quietly.
Let's clean my chimney, chimney sweep.
I stood astonished, not knowing what to do. He seemed to notice it.
I'll wash myself and then let you use it.
Gosh, I got such a massive chill. Well, you know, I just remember that I have something I gotta go do. I got something to do. Gotta go. Out of all the eccentricities of Electronic, the moment I just saw was the weirdest one.
Hey, what's up with you? A cold shower on a hot day is like the best thing ever.
No. Get away from me, gay thoughts. That won't do. And anyway, I have to go.
My goodness.
I put on my shirt quickly and ran back into the forest. I wonder what's gotten into him.
What's gotten into you, bud?
I went for lunch with mixed feelings, with a sense of accomplishment and with a realization of time wasted. The canteen was crowded. I couldn't stay unnoticed. Olga Dmitrievna called me.
Semyon, come with us.
The camp leader, Slavia, and Electronic were sitting at the 4-seat table. I nodded and went to get my food. This time I had to spend several minutes in the queue. Today's menu didn't really differ from the other day's menus. The dishes looked the same, at least. When I sat at the table and wished bon appetit to everyone, Olga Dmitrievna said,
So, what are you thinking?
About what?
We searched for Shuruk all around. It's noon and he's nowhere to be found.
I took a note of the rhyme, but didn't want to point it out.
We've looked all over the camp. I went around all the neighboring forest.
Olga Dmitrievna looked at me, and I helped too.
We must call the police.
Maybe we should wait until the evening, I asked lazily.
Maybe he went home. That can't be. Shuruk lives thousands of miles away.
By train?
The nearest station, she paused, is far off.
Now it was getting interesting. Every time the conversation reached the point concerning ways I could leave Sovyanok, all the camp inhabitants started changing the subject.
How far is far? Really far?
The camp leader looked at me, indicating with her expression that asking more questions was not advised. So we should go deeper in the forest. Maybe he got lost. Shurik always takes a compass, chimed in Electronic. I wonder what else could be found in his magic vest, assuming he has one. If I were to get lost in the forest, a compass would be of no real use. Police. We should call the police in the evening. Not right now, at least. Okay, so you'll do it later. They were all silent. We should be able to find him before evening. We still have time. If he actually got lost, then we have no time to lose. We cannot be sure. Then where is he? Where? There was some truth to the camp leader's words. Hiding the whole day like that, just like that, is suspicious. Why would he do that? Shurik seemed to me to be quite a serious pioneer. Uliana would have been a better fit for this behavior. So there is good reason to believe that he was gone. All that can be done has already been done. We'll just have to wait. Slavia, Electronic, and Olga Dimitrievna looked at me sorrowfully, but didn't say a word. Ellipse. I finished my lunch, took the tray back, and left the canteen. It's still the first half of the day. What now? The camp was drifting off for an afternoon nap. Only Jenda stared at me through his glasses. Of course, he was staring somewhere else, but I had a feeling that he was constantly watching me. I bet he knows where Shurik is hiding. He just can't say anything. The disappearance of the Cybernetics Club's leader made me think, maybe it's got something to do with my case. Oh, Pioneer! The nurse stood right in front of me. I looked at her curiously. Go and take my place in the infirmary. I have an urgent call. Somebody is injured. Me? Yes, you. Take the keys. The nurse threw me the keys and ran away. Why me? Isn't there anyone else in this camp? What exactly should I be doing? What if something happens? What do I do now? I missed my chance to refuse. I stood in front of the door uncertainly. On the one hand, there is nothing to worry about. I'll spend half an hour or so here and she'll be back. But what if somebody comes for actual help, with a broken leg or a head injury? I began to worry too much. I hope that there are no injuries more serious than bruises and scratches in this camp. But at the same time, I could not shake that in a serious situation, I would be absolutely useless. I don't even know how to perform CPR. A magazine on the nurse's table caught my attention. A good way to relax, I guess. This is labeled Soviet Fashion. The publication date or month were absent. However, this was not a surprise. There were much stranger things happening here. I didn't know much about Soviet magazines. Maybe they actually didn't have publication dates on them. Models dressed in old-fashioned clothes stared at me from the glossy pages. Nowadays, nobody would wear such clothes, I smirked. I wonder if Slavia, for example, considered this fashionable. I can only imagine what would happen if she appeared in my time wearing something like this. Imagine we were walking hand in hand. I'm wearing my coat with the hood, and she is dressed in a lavish dress covered with lace and things. Seems like I'm already imagining Slavia in my world. With me. And not only Slavia. This dress better suits Uliana. This cute sarafan would look good on Alyssa. This skirt and cardigan would look nice on Lena. I almost said Lenya. It's Lena, I think. If only they could be real. No. I saw them, heard them, could even touch them. But still, they are here, and I simply don't belong in this place. It's alien to me. I'm just waiting for a chance to get out of here. Waiting because nothing is up to me anymore. I sighed, put my head on the table, and fell asleep. I'm noticing a pattern with this guy, where he wants to do something, something happens to him, he says there's nothing I can do, and because now I'm in this new situation, and then he falls asleep. Is this a metaphor? Is this a metaphor for when you have depression? It's feeling like it. I was awoke by the sound of a door opening. Lena stood at the door. Yesterday, I promised to help her in the infirmary. My cheeks became scarlet shortly, and I turned away, pretending that I'm busy. The nurse is here? Then I'll come back later. I'm substituting for her. Since I am responsible for pioneers' lives, I should do it with full responsibility. Although, in fact, I was just afraid of something bad happening because of me. Any health complaints? I tried to give Lena the most professional smile I could in order to not confuse her. Nothing special. Just a little headache. Let's do this. Some painkillers, maybe. Of course, I wasn't aware where to find required medicines, so it took me a while to find them. Finally, I handed a metamizole. I'm going to say metamizole. I handed a metamizole tablet to Lena. Thanks, she smiled. That was completely unexpected, and I lost touch with reality, staring at her. What? Lena turned awkward in an instant. Listen, I've been wondering, do you like this? I don't know what got into me, but I grabbed that magazine from the table and showed her that picture of a skirt and a cardigan, which would really suit Lena, in my opinion. Maybe I went completely nuts, thinking about all the girls being in my world. Or maybe I wanted to distract myself, instead of just waiting for the nurse to come back. Lena looked at the picture. Yeah, I guess. Is stuff like this in fashion? I guess. She got confused and started blushing. Why do you ask? Really, why? You know what, let's be bold. Thank you. It's all right, I'm just being completely honest. We were quiet for some time. How is your headache? Much better, thank you. She smiled. I'll be off. Good luck. Lena went out, and I continued to look through the magazine. After a while, somebody knocked on the door again. It seems that the infirmary is the most popular place to go. Suddenly, I decided to role-play a nurse. Just a male version. And said, "Come in." The door opened and Uliana entered the room. Wow, did I miss the moment when you decided to start knocking? Anything wrong with me knocking? She frowned. Where does it hurt? Why on earth would I tell you? Where's the nurse? Right in front of you. I imposingly crossed my legs and looked questioningly at her. I'd better go. It'd be better to die than be treated by you. She smiled mischievously. You didn't even let me try. Uliana thought for a moment.
Though you could give me some pills.
What's bothering you? It took her some time to reply.
A heavy stomach.
Sure it's not an empty head? I muttered under my breath.
What did you say?
Nothing. Give me a second. I found the pills in the first drawer I opened.
Thank you, Doctor.
She smiled cheerfully. Watching Uliana, I could not imagine how such an optimistic and active child could have any health problems. That one. Overdosing on stolen candy. She gave me a baleful look.
No, I left everything for you.
Uliana ran out of the infirmary and slammed the door. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Again, I went back to studying Soviet fashion trends. Time passed, but the nurse was still absent. I wasn't searching for Shurik, wasn't looking for any clues concerning my situation. I was just sitting and flipping through a magazine. Just for a moment, I felt quite satisfied with this situation. So far, everything that has happened here could be seen as just a trip to a summer camp. And if nothing changes anytime soon, then I can start worrying. Again, somebody knocked on the door. Did I miss the outbreak of an epidemic? Slavia was standing in the doorway. Oh, hi. Isn't the nurse here? Hi. No, she's not here. I'll be taking over for today. Great. I'd like... She hesitated. What? By the way, Semyon, Slavia said, looking intently at me. What? It seems like I have lost my keys. Have you seen them anywhere? Sure I have. Yes, here. I found them near the canteen yesterday. I wanted to return them to you, but forgot about it. I was really bad at lying. My cheeks were red, my eyes were wandering around, and my hands were constantly shaking. Here. I was already preparing myself for an appropriate scolding, but Slavia only took the keys and said, Thanks. So, what have you come for? I really needed to change the subject. Does anything hurt? No, it's nothing. Strange. I wouldn't even think that such an open person like Slavia would keep something quiet. If there's something bothering you, tell me. That's why I'm here, to treat people. I smiled widely. No. I mean, yes, but no. Hearing that made anything possible, even division by 0. So, how can I help you? Excuse me. You? I guess you can't. She smiled and was going to leave, but suddenly stopped. However, could you step out for a minute? Why not? Okay. I stepped out of the infirmary and leaned against the wall like a cool guy that I am. I wonder what she might be doing, something that I can't even see. After a minute, the door opened and Slavia came out. She was carrying a small bundle. Let's figure it out. What is it? Nothing. She blushed. Thank you. You're welcome. Slavia ran away. Seems like I shouldn't have asked. I looked at the time. It was getting late. I'd read the magazine backwards and forwards, but the nurse still wasn't here. Suddenly the door burst open, and Alisa rushed inside. She looked at me piercingly. What are you doing here? Sitting, I admitted honestly. Okay then. It's even better without the nurse. she murmured. Are you sick? I asked acidly. Alice didn't answer and came closer to me.
Move over.
Why?
So I can open the drawer. Isn't it obvious?
What for? She got angry.
None of your business.
Well, I'm kinda in charge here. She gave it a moment's thought.
Then give me some activated carbon.
Stomachache?
Yeah.
She grinned sharply. I got the feeling there was something wrong here. You know what? I'm the straw that stirs the drink. Let's get that activated carbon. But you never know. What if she really has an ache? Okay. I reached into the drawer and got out a packet of activated carbon.
Thanks.
She wrested it from my hand and ran away. Ellipse. It was 15 minutes till dinner, and the nurse still wasn't back. I guess just leaving this place like this won't do. She asked me to look after it, after all. And who knows what might happen if I leave. This is feeling a little out of character for him. I mean, he's before been not afraid to run away from situations where he might be responsible, and now he's not. And that's making me a little suspicious. Although, who would want to steal anything from here? Except for Alissa stealing activated carbon. I opened the magazine again and began flipping through it for the nth time. The fashions of the 80s weren't that fun anymore. Yawning got me several times. It was already 6 o'clock, so dinner had already started. Of course, I had to be on the watch till the end, but my stomach seemed to have its own opinion on the matter. I stood up and steadily headed to the exit. A rustling sound came from behind the door. Could it be someone else who got poisoned, broke their arm, or something even worse? I sighed heavily and pulled the doorknob. However, there was no one out there. Seems like it was just my imagination. I returned inside and instantly noticed that something had changed in the infirmary. To be precise, with 2 C's, an apple had appeared on the table. But where from? Fruits can't just materialize from thin air by themselves, can they? Though, in this camp, anything is possible. Chances are someone just brought it here. Maybe Lena wanted to thank me, given that she's all shy and... But wait, how could she just slip past me like that? Lena wouldn't climb through a window, after all, so there must be something else. I was suddenly overwhelmed by fear. What if the apple was poisoned? Though, why would someone complicate things when I'm here totally helpless and can be killed way more easily? Or it might be the apple which Eve tasted in the Garden of Eden. In that case, I certainly shouldn't eat it. The same second my stomach reminded me that it was there by rumbling traitorously. However, it would take time to close the infirmary, to reach the canteen, to get food. My stomach was about to eat itself. There is nothing wrong, I guess. Once again, I tried to remember if this apple was here before. In the end, it must have appeared from somewhere. Maybe it got here through the window. The shutter was slightly open. So, someone must have reached in and put it here. Nothing serious. However... Eat the apple. Finally, hunger prevailed, and I started chewing on the ripe green apple with gusto. And we're going to pay attention to see if his personality shifts, but because of this medicine apple, suspicious. The taste seemed normal, though I don't think that even the strongest poison can be tasted. But it's too late to think about that. It was time to go for dinner. Along the way, I ran into Electronic. How's it going? Did you find Shurik? No, still no sign of him. Don't worry. We'll find him. I tried to cheer him up. Too much time has passed. I'll just keep on searching. What about dinner? No, finding Shurik is more important. He muttered thoughtfully. I left him at the crossroads and wished him good luck. Pioneers crowded in the doorway. I quickened my pace, trying not to be the last one in line, at least for today. And I was lucky. In the far corner was an absolutely empty table. I took my dinner quickly and sat at the table. Tonight's dinner consisted of fruit soup and a pair of buns. This set surprised me at first, but the taste was actually nice. I concentrated on eating. Lena, let's go here. Look, 3 free chairs. Lena and Miku stood in front of me. Are these taken? Wondered Lena. No, take a seat. Of course, I wish you were alone. Thank you. As soon as Lena said that, Zhenya jumped out from behind her back. I'll sit here. There are no places left, she said, putting her tray on a table and sitting down, not even waiting for my answer. Sure, make yourself at home, I muttered sorrowfully. What? Nothing. To tell the truth, I wanted to reduce the whole company to just Lena, though neither Miku nor Zhenya were causing much trouble. Why does this guy hate these two? Oh, that's probably why. Except one was too talkative, and the other was too arrogant. But nevertheless, they were absolutely harmless, especially compared to some others I could name. Oh, it seems like I forgot my key. Don't worry, take mine. I was surprised by Miku's short reply. Do you live together? Of course, didn't you know? Together. Our cabin is the rearmost. I mean the farthest from here. I mean the last one. I wouldn't have been surprised if somebody told me that Lena lived with Slavia. Or Zhenya at worst. Even Electronic. But silent and shy Lena and excessively talkative Miku as a pair. That's really a surprise. Did you find Shurik? It's strange that Zhenya is disturbed by someone's problems. No. Surely he is at the village buying cigarettes. Or vodka, she snorted. Village? At that moment, the conversation got much more interesting. Got a problem with villages? Zhenya looked amazed. You mean there's a village nearby? I think so, she said uncertainly. I looked at Lena and Miku, but they were busy with their meals and did not pay attention to our conversation. You mean you don't know exactly? Why should I care? Zhenya stared at her dish. But there must be something nearby. Listen. Listening? I don't know. Will you let me eat? Seems like I won't get anything from her. Though there is a chance she really doesn't know. The remaining time was spent listening to Miku talk about some nonsense. I was just going slowly mad in silence. Obviously, the first thing I did after getting out after that was inhale a great breath of fresh air. The sun was setting. I decided to take a walk. It's highly unlikely that I will find anything more exciting to do for the rest of the evening. That way something interesting could arise quite unexpectedly. Oh, I was approaching the square when I heard a loud bang. Seems like something had exploded. I was paralyzed. I am in a hostile environment, knowing not the rules and laws of this place. It would be better for me to run, but at the same time I was curious. Probably I would have just kept standing there, but somebody grabbed my hand. It was Olga Dimitrievna. Why are you standing here? Let's go and see what happened. Can't you ever manage without me? I begged her pitifully. It shouldn't be anything serious, just an explosion, I hope. When we came to the square, there was already a crowd of pioneers. Olga Dimitrievna vigorously pushed through the crowd and approached the crime scene. Obviously, somebody had tried to blow up Genda. But the attackers failed. The monument was still standing upright. There were only dim ash traces on the pedestal. Well, who did this? She looked over at the crowd of pioneers. Surely it wasn't done by an organized terrorist organization. These guys all came here just to look at what happened. I noticed Uliana and Alisa in the crowd. And it looks like our camp leader noticed them too. You two, come here. They approached reluctantly.
Why always me? If you think so.
Show me your hands, Vachevskaya.
What's wrong with them?
I looked closer and saw that they were smeared with black. Now it's clear. What did you make a bomb with? The junior terrorist seemed to hesitate over whether or not to confess, but then blurted out proudly.
Activated carbon, saltpeter, and sulfur.
Why exactly the monument? What did this honored man ever do to you? A fighter for the rights of...
Besides, he gave me activated carbon.
She pointed at me with her finger. The whole square stared at me. Thoughts about the pointlessness of this act due to the small bomb size left me at this very moment. She stole it. I did nothing. Even if he gave it to you, I'm sure that Semyon would never take part in such disgusting antisocial act. Yes, exactly. I agreed. This is not the direction I expected this to go, by the way. I could hardly imagine how long she would have kept on scolding Alisa if Electronic hadn't popped out at that very moment, shouting. I found it! Oh no. I found it! I found it! Everyone turned towards him. He held a boot in his hand. Here! Electronic boastfully shook it over his head. It's Shurek's boot! Okay, calm down. Tell us in detail where you found it. In the forest, on the way to the old camp. Whispers ran among the pioneers. Old camp, old camp, the old camp, old camp, old camp. Are you sure? Absolutely. What's so special about this old camp? I joined in the conversation. It's nothing special, really, she stammered. One of Sauvergnoc's legends tells the story of a young camp leader's ghost living there. She fell in love with a pioneer, but he rejected her, so she killed herself.
She committed hara-kiri with a kitchen knife. The next day that boy was hit by a bus.
Uliana ran out of the crowd. Bus? I refrained from asking about the route number. But science doesn't acknowledge the existence of ghosts, so we have nothing to be afraid of. Anyways, somebody should go there. Suddenly, the crowd started to thin out. Olga Dimitrievna, it's almost night. Maybe tomorrow. I turned around and saw Slavia and Lena. What if at night something happens to him? No, today,
Right now. By the way, where is this place? Electronic roughly described to me the directions and told me the story of the old camp. The camp leader looked at me attentively. If you think that you're the only man here. I looked around the area. Of course. Electronic was quick to flee. I still didn't want to walk in the woods alone. If you ask me, I would. Oh, we get to pick one? Let's take Slavia. Keep your enemies close, and I don't trust her the least. I don't trust her the most. I trust her the least. That's the one. Will she agree? I looked at Slavia. She paid no attention to me. Looks like it's not my day. Am I going there alone? Olga Dimitrievna looked thoughtful. Perhaps you're right. We'll go together tomorrow morning. We stood in silence for some time, then dispersed around the camp. Everybody seemingly forgot about Alisa and her terrorist act, maybe due to the minor damage it caused. Together with the camp leader, I went towards our cabin. I tried to think of why Shurik would go to the old camp. He is interested in robots and cybernetics, not scary stories and ghosts. What does that boot have to do with it? With that it? I remembered how I decided to wait until something extraordinary would happen. And then I realized, this is it. Olga Dimitrievna, I think I'll take a walk before bed. Just not a long one. Okay. When I reached the square, I understood that hanging around in the forest or some other strange place may not be that scary. But doing so in the dark. I didn't want to return to Olga Dimitrievna's cabin, but I had to find a flashlight. For instance, there was one in the infirmary. I was glad I didn't spend my whole time there reading the fashion magazine. So Slavia did take something from the infirmary. I'm wondering what it was. Wasn't the flashlight, though, looks like. The flashlight was found quickly, and in a few minutes I was again standing at the square, pulling myself together. I just had to make the final decision before I entered the forest. Moving past the pioneers' cabins, down the forest path towards the abandoned camp. I set forth. Electronic told me that the old building was built immediately after the war. It looked like a kindergarten, or like a barracks, I expected, and definitely could hold fewer pioneers than today's camp. It had been abandoned for about 20 years. It was now totally dark. The forest looked totally different at night. Mysterious shadows were hiding behind the trees, strange rustlings and the cries of night birds coming from everywhere, branches treacherously snapping under my feet. The full moon was shining, so I decided to save the battery in the flashlight. I'm sure I will need it sometime soon. The further I moved, the more unpleasant thoughts came into my head. I wasn't afraid of the dark at all. I didn't believe in ghosts or other mystical crap. But at the same time, during the last few days, I'd encountered so many incomprehensible phenomena that against my own will, I started to read between the lines of the simplest things. Obviously, I felt exceptionally uneasy in the forest at night. Everywhere I looked, every shadow, every tree or bush looked like weird creatures, escaping straight from horror movies or from Stephen King novels. A branch seemed to be someone's hand, eager to grab your shoulder. A fallen log, someone's dead body. someone who failed to get out of the forest. In every gully, I saw a bottomless abyss. If I had found myself in this forest under any other circumstances, without all these buses and pioneer camps, of course I would still feel uncomfortable. But then, I would be able to explain everything with logic and be afraid of nothing, except for owls and mice, of course. But at the moment, there were more than enough reasons to fear. Despite all this, I reached the old camp without any adventures. In a little glade surrounded by trees stood a house resembling a kindergarten. Paint peeled off the walls. Almost all the windows were broken. Broken masonry here and there, holes in the roof that looked like those made by a bombing. In front of the building there was a little garden, surrounded by a rusty fence. Apparently, once it was a playground with a merry-go-round, swing, slides, and other Soviet attractions. But time is cruel. All of them were broken and mutilated by corrosion. The grass was so tall that it almost came up to my waist. The moon looked out from behind the clouds and illuminated the old camp. It seemed like everything came back to life. The windows shone with new glass, and the walls looked like they'd been painted with fresh paint. I heard playful laughter, saw translucent children joyfully running and frolicking in the yard, a strict camp leader on the threshold, holding a basket with ripe apples in her hands, the old cleaning lady taking a nap in the shade. It sent chills down my spine. Of course, my imagination was just playing tricks, but the old camp itself was so similar to all the post-apocalyptic pictures I had seen that these visions were of no surprise. I stood undecided for a long time before I dared to go further. After all, I'm here to find Shurik. Though, I still don't get what he might be doing here. If he even is here. A boot somewhere nearby doesn't mean anything. However, if he was not eaten by wolves, for some reason it seemed like there would be no wolves in this forest, this must be the only place where he might be hiding. I carefully crossed the yard, pushing the tall grass apart and trying not to bump into a jagged piece of metal. But I stopped in a doorway, hesitating. An impenetrable heavy darkness stared back at me from inside. Even the bright moonlight could not illuminate any object, or even highlight a silhouette. My head was filled up with different thoughts that all said it's better for me to not go any further and run away quickly. But I pulled myself together, turned on the flashlight, and stepped over the threshold. Inside the building looked like a typical kindergarten. I still remembered my childhood days, and so everything here looked very familiar. Sleeping room with lines of beds standing close to each other, a large playroom, toilets, a dining room, and utility rooms. Signs of the past children's joy were seen everywhere. From time to time, the flashlight drew my attention to a decaying doll, or a plastic toy car, or a punctured rubber ball, or a broken rank of tin soldiers. There was a book on the table, faded with age. I flipped through a few pages. It was a story I had read long time ago, back in my childhood. Something about the war. Enemies destroyed the kindergarten, and all of its kids hid in the little basement together with a bunch of adults, while bombs were exploding up on the surface. I don't remember the end of the story, but as far as I remember, nobody died. Looking at the illustrations, all the emotions, fear, sadness, sympathy for the poor children, and the sense of hopelessness which I had experienced while reading this book came over me. It's strange that under exactly these conditions, right here and now, that I found this book. Probably there is someone that manages this ongoing story, who writes the scenario for this absurd play, who sews costumes for the local pioneers and creates sets like this abandoned camp. To tell the truth, he is very talented. Attention is paid to even the most minor of details. Although this place was abandoned a long time ago, everything here seems to be untouched. Of course, time didn't spare this camp. In so many years it had often been visited by the locals. A perfect place for young people just hitting puberty. They could drink alcohol, indulge in amorous pleasures, or simply burn everything down just for fun. Electronic mentioned this place is full of legends. Legends of ghosts and devils living here. Take, for example, the story about the camp leader who committed suicide. In my world, nobody would believe this would stop. Wow, I'm getting a little tired here. In my world, nobody would it believe that this could stop somebody. But in this reality, anything is possible. Certainly, the fear didn't disappear. But I decided that since I'd come here, I was going to carry on to the end. The building was small, so it wasn't difficult to search it completely. But I didn't find any sign of Shurik. Maybe I should just call out to him. But on the other hand, maybe that's not such a good idea. Frustrated, I sat on a bench in the lobby and sighed. "Ghosts, where are you?" I asked the camp. And all of a sudden, I noticed a strange depression in the corner. A small trapdoor. An adult would barely be able to squeeze through it. And it seemed to me that it had been recently opened as the dust was cleared around it. And so here's the part where I needed to be scared. So, Shurik went somewhere. And what might be lurking underneath the trapdoor? A basement? What could he be doing there? I pulled open the hatch and pointed the flashlight into the darkness. There was a ladder going down a couple of meters, ending in a concrete floor. There was a low, narrow corridor disappearing in the darkness. I hesitated for a long time. On the one hand, I had absolutely no desire to go down there. But on the other hand, if Shurik was really there, I swore loudly and began to descend. Downstairs it was so dark that even the flashlight didn't help much. A low ceiling, wires extending along the walls, broken lamps clad in iron bars. I've seen it all somewhere. I slowly started to move deeper into the dungeon. The path went down, and after a dozen meters ended in a stairway with high steps. Soon I found myself in front of a massive metal door. There was a sign painted on it. I looked closely and realized that it was a biohazard sign. No wonder, if the old camp was built after the war and it lasted until the 70s. So it's an ordinary bomb shelter, and there is nothing to be afraid of. However, those thoughts made me even more scared. I made a decision and opened the door, which immediately shut with a sharp sound as soon as I stepped through the doorway. I shuddered strongly. My hands began to tremble, and my vision dimmed. I regained consciousness after a few seconds, and only then did I realize that apparently a strong spring was attached to the door. I found myself in quite a spacious room. In the beam of the flashlight, I could see a bunk bed, some cabinets along the walls, and several devices of unknown purpose located in the far corner. It seems that this bomb shelter had never been used. Nobody ever came here. The beds were unmade, which is strange in itself. I carefully looked around the room several times. The cabinets were filled with gas masks, chemical protective suits, dry rations, various domestic odds and ends. The devices, which I at first could determine the purpose of, were gauges of radiation, air pressure, and temperature. In short, it was a typical bomb shelter. I'd never been in such a place before, but it was how I imagined it. The only thing that remained unexplored was the door at the other end of the room. I pulled the handle, but the door remained closed. If someone recently came down here and he wasn't found in this room, then it would be logical to assume that he is behind this door. I called out in whisper, "Shurik." No reply. Maybe he locked himself out. But why? It was unclear what I should do next. Perhaps it would be smarter to come back tomorrow with help, but for some reason I had a feeling that behind this door I would find answers that can't wait to be found. I walked across the room and took a crowbar from the corner. I wedged it under the bottom of the door and tried to rip it from its hinges. Oddly enough, after a while, I did just that. Fortunately, it wasn't as massive as the previous door. The door gave out and slammed onto the floor. I took a deep breath and pointed the flashlight down the passage. A corridor vanished in the darkness, the same as the one on which brought me here. The walls were closing in. My head almost touched the ceiling, and I could not make out the end of the corridor. I walked carefully, looking at the ground. This was the reason that I did not fall into the pit. The hole was about 1.5 meters in diameter, and there was earth at the bottom of it instead of concrete. It seems that the hole was caused by an explosion. It wasn't too deep. I could easily climb out later. After I jumped into the hole, I found myself in something that resembled an old mine. The walls and ceilings were reinforced with wooden beams. The tunnel was so long that my flashlight was insufficient. After a few minutes later, I found myself at the crossroads. It's too dangerous to go further. I could get lost. I decided that it would be a good idea to somehow mark the place from which I would begin my journey into the labyrinth. So I picked up a stone and made quite a big notch in the wall. So, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right. It seems that there is another fork in the road. Go right again. It seems that there is another fork in the road. We're gonna go left. It seems that there is another fork in the road. We're gonna go left. It seems that there is another fork in the road. Right? It seems that there is another fork in the road. Right? It seems that there is another fork in the road. Left. Around one last turn, a door appeared from the darkness. I opened it and went inside a small room. Nobody was here except Shurik, who sat in the corner. Shurik! He stared at me with eyes full of terror. Don't come near me. Shurik, it's me, Semyon. This is a good voice for the guy that's freaking out in the... I won't give up so easily. He grabbed a piece of reinforced bar from behind his back and started waving it around. Shurik, what's wrong with you? Calm down. First you bring me here, then you take me through this mine, and now you're pretending to be Semyon. He must have gone completely nuts. Shurik, calm down. No one's pretending to be me. I really am me. I tried to talk as calmly as I could, but I was almost feeling more nervous than him. Semyon? He squinted. Is that really you? Yes. And now tell me what happened. How did you get here? Shurik recovered his breath and started to talk. I needed some parts for the robot. I had heard that there was a bomb shelter in the old camp, and there could be some instruments there. So I got up in the morning and went. He stopped for a minute, trying to deal with the trembling of his hands. I found suitable parts, but then I read primal fear in his eyes. The voices, they told me to go here. I went down the mine. Then they were telling me to go to the right, then left, then right, then left, then right, then left. He started to laugh hysterically. But now they won't get me. I'll stay sitting here. They won't find me here. He once again started to wave his pipe in the air. Shurik, there's no one there. I wasted quite a lot of time walking in the mine, like you, but I didn't hear any voices. He fixed his eyes on me. Then you're with them. Shurik rushed towards me. I was just barely able to dodge him. But the flashlight wasn't as lucky, and took the full force of Shurik's blow. We found ourselves in complete darkness. Now it was my turn to lose my mind. What have you done, you idiot? I lashed out with my hand in the direction I expected Shurik to be, but to no avail. Now we will both die here. I got nothing but silence in return, and then a quiet, hysterical laugh. It's all right. That's fine. I know where the exit is. Follow me. Follow you where? I can't see a damn thing. Follow my voice. I had no other choice. Here. Shurik's voice was heard from somewhere further on. How do you know where to go? I walked all over here. Then why didn't you leave? The voices. Quiet. They can hear us. In theory, I could believe that there are some supernatural forces here. In the Soviet camp, they'd just be a daily occurrence. But there was no reason to panic yet, though my hands were shaking nonstop. Here. I slowly followed his voice, and eventually lost track of time. We could have been roaming for a few minutes, or a few hours. Finally, a dim light appeared in the distance. And I think we're going to save that reveal for next time, because we've reached my time for the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the just chatting screen. And I see we still got a couple people listening in. I'd like to thank you guys for listening and watching. We'll pick this up next week if we're lucky. I think we are. This went a direction. This went a direction I was not expecting. And I will be back tomorrow evening with some Elden Ring with Broseph, as we usually do. I'll probably render and post all the VOD for this guy here tonight, put that on my YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out. Definitely follow me on Twitter if you're inclined to do so. I do some announcements and I put my schedule there. With that, I think we will end it here for today. Thank you all for watching and listening.